Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this new event of the project Genius Loci, to the final conference of the project. I am Roberta Quarta, coordinator of the project Genius Loci, Performing Arts Between Heritage and Future, supported by the European Union program Creative Europe. It is a project promoted by Astràgali Teatro Eufonia with a rich important partnership, the University of Salento, Department of History, Society and Human Studies from Italy, the Teatro Zakynthos from Greece, the International Theatre Institute Directorate General from France, the Constanta State Theatre from Romania, the Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso of Madrid University, Rey Juan Carlos from Spain. So as I said, unfortunately, this is one of the last activities of the project. It was a long journey started more than 18 months ago. The project encompassed an international artistic residence in Zakynthos in February 2020, the only one made in presence. Then something totally unexpected came up, the COVID that upset our lives and had a devastating impact on the artistic sector. So the artistic activities in mobility had to stop. Indeed, the Genius Loci was an extraordinary opportunity to resist, to realize artistic activities in a different way. And also the partners that are gathered here this afternoon for this final conference can give their witness about this long journey and how we had to react to this unpredictable situation determined by the COVID. It was an extraordinary opportunity also to enhance the creative exchange of best practices and the partners' competencies to fertilize the artistic creation through such an exchange, involving hundreds of artists and cultural operators. Then the other three international artistic residencies were held online. So we had to change our mind and our habits and find new solutions. The first one was coordinated by the Romanian partner, the Constanta State Theatre, the second one by the Spanish partner, Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso of Madrid University, and the last one by the Italian partner Astràgali Teatro. Other important activities were made online along this path. I think it can be interesting also for the people and the colleagues, not only that are following the meeting, to understand a bit how we changed the project. We turned it into online activities. Other activities were made online, like the research on performing arts and cultural heritage of University of Salento, meeting on Romanian playwrights, original creations of Spanish students of the Institute of Dance, and a series of events on performing arts entitled Chi è di scena ITI Meets the World, coordinated by the International Theatre Institute Directorate General in collaboration with the Italian Center of ITI. That involved artists not only from the countries of the project, but also from Russia, Georgia, United States, Croatia, Spain, North Macedonia, and on next Thursday, 6 May, from United Kingdom. So months of intensive work, dozens of online meetings to coordinate the artistic work, to exchange ideas and to revise the project while respecting its aims and deep sense. I think that the team spirit of the partners was improved. It took indeed a lot of efforts because each partner had to face a lot of difficulties also in the everyday life. To speak about the positive aspects, such new modalities forced us to change our habits, to find new solutions, new artistic practices. And it also increased the accessibility of audience. until now, we had almost 15,000 views of the activities that we made online. A few days ago, we streamed the final artistic event called The Wind of Genius Loci, that you can still find on the YouTube channel of Genius Loci. A very beautiful event that saw the involvement of all the artistic partners, with more than 30 artists involved and about 100 artists, operators, organizers, technicians, tailors involved in it. So my heartfelt thank to all the partners of Genius Loci that really made a great work and had a great flexibility also to revise all the project. This was made possible thanks to a solid partnership, a well-established partnership that could fastly react to the turned upside down context. So all the partners are now gathering for this final event entitled The Archive of Future Cultural Heritage and Performing Arts. Genius Loci project aimed to enhance European cultural heritage for the creation of a better cultural environment and of deeper and more inclusive relationships. Why genius? Genius is a word connected to the verb to generate. The genius is a principle of the existence. I would like to quote the philosopher Giorgio Agamben that says, genialis, ingenious is the life that looks away from death and responds without hesitation to the thrust of the genius that generated it. There is a logo of the project that is made by Fabio Tolledi. It is a little angel, the genius with its light wings that we feel when we are children. It is something very intimate, but also something that we can never catch, something always stranger. Passion is the invisible wire between us and the genius. The genius is our life, not belonging to us. Genius Loci is related to the protection and respect of the places and of life in all its manifestations. Care, attention, listening, the culture of the gift. It is not related to a concept of identity. This I would like to stress. To heritage, it is not related to heritage as a closed system, but to a wider concept of cultural, historical, natural heritage, to discover the traces, to listen to the many voices of the places, of the people, memories, stories. It implies to collect the many voices of the Genius Loci. This is the open perspective of Genius Loci that we tried to convey through the project actions, and everywhere we could find this multicultural dimension. In Greece, in Zakynthos, forms of popular theater like homilias or like bagorda, Mediterranean music, songs. In Romanian culture, in Constanta, the city where the Latin poet Ovidius was exiled, Dobrogea region with its extraordinary mosaic of culture, in Spain, another incredible crossroads of cultures, in Italy with its cultural métissage. The international artistic residencies gave a deep glimpse on such cultural richness and diversity. Tangible and intangible cultural heritage and performing arts are an essential part of it. Is a resource that unites peoples, highlighting their crossing, exchanges, and syncretism, reviving memories and stories, regenerating a deeper view of the present and of the future. I think this is a very important aspect for the future of performing arts and of civil society life. So it was very important for me just to share some words and reflections about this project with you and with the people who are listening. And then now I don't want to take our other time because we have a very valuable panel of speakers. So I am very pleased to give the floor to Tobias Biancone, Secretary General of the International Theatre Institute from France. Thank you very much, Tobias. Please.
So, thanks a lot, Roberta, for giving me the word and the opportunity to share my thoughts and my reflections that I did during this time. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to this final Genius Loci event. Tangible and intangible heritage. Well, this is an invitation for me to dive into the past. The first question that comes to my mind is, when did cultural heritage start? Did tangible heritage start with circular ruins? No, I don't think so. Because I ask myself, what was before the buildings were built? Similarly, when I think of intangible heritage, when I hear men and women singing a polyphonic song, I ask myself, who created the melody and added some words in the first place? And the more I'm diving into the past, the more I get a bit confused, because there is always something before the amphitheater was built, before the beautiful vase was made, before the costume was stitched, before the makeup was made, before the poem was put into words, and before dance was flowing into body movements. And the more I'm diving into the past, the more I enter into an empty space, a space that invites me to come in, a space that invites me to create, a space that invites me to live in, to dance, to speak, to be in dialogue with another being, to be in dialogue with nature and the surroundings. And the more I'm diving into the past as a poet, I find myself in front of an empty page, a blank page, an untouched page, no words, no drawings, nothing to be found on it. But is the empty space, the empty page, the nothingness in front of us, around us, and within us, is it not just a source of inspiration? Is it not the challenge for putting life into it, something that breathes, that can be seen, that can be touched, something that lives and never dies? When I'm emerging back into present time, I start to ask myself, what was the driving force of the people in the past to sing, to act, to dance, to create any piece of art? Moreover, I ask myself, what was before? What was happening to the people at that time? Was there a war? Did families and friends suffer from illnesses or famine? Were there natural catastrophes? How come that our ancestors survived despite all the atrocities of war, of fights, of illnesses? What was driving them to never give up, to never get in to the forces that were trying to kill them, to suppress them, to frighten them? What was driving them to create? All these questions for what was before and before and before. Well, I can see the following scenes: the architect that is in front of an empty space, a piece of land; the painter who is cleaning an empty space with white, a painter who is cleaning an empty white canvas; the poet who is having a little book in his hand with a blank page; the actress, the actor who is standing in front of an audience; the little child who has two pieces of wood in front of her and says, that one is my mother, and that one is my father. And then the little child lets the wood pieces talk to each other. Emptiness, nothingness is involved. The space, the canvas, the page, the spiritual and non-materialistic part of life is involved. The person himself. And the somethingness is involved. The body, the song, the dance, the play, the amphitheater, the pictures, the videos, all the manifestations of art, all the manifestations of life. That's why I conclude. Since time immemorial, the arts in all their forms erupted from a single first intention of creating something out of a nothingness. Since time immemorial, artists are expressing their thoughts in their preferred form of expression and thus were and are bringing life into the universe of others. And this is that makes me stand in awe of old and new intangible nothings and tangible somethings. And that is what makes me stand in awe when I observe throughout the Genius Loci project over and over this impetus to create, this impetus of bringing life into an empty space. Just in recent days, I detected this in the shadow theater, the dream curtain, and in the multiplicity not create the performance. I became also aware of it during the final event called Wind of Genius Loci, with artistic expression by many, many artists and their helpers from Astràgali Teatro, Instituto della Danza Alicia Alonso, the State Theatre of Constanta, and the Teatro Zakynthos. All of it, I experienced an intense joint event of individual and groups expressions offered in poetic text, in music and songs, in theater, dance, actions, and movements. I admire how the participants create, how they are putting life into an empty space. And I admire those who are empowering others to create. Even in the Genius Loci series of ITI Meets extraordinary performing arts people from another country or Guia di Scena, I was most delighted when someone was talking about his or her creative process or showed his or her creation. Moreover, all the parts of the Genius Loci contain something extremely precious, especially for the period we are all going through. It contained the sense of affinity, love, and friendship that brought and brings us together closer and more intense. Let's cultivate our creative impulses, our ability to create something out of nothing. Let's respect our cultural heritage, but not as a cage one enters into, but a cage out of which we are able to find the inspiration to create, and where our nothingness, our ideas and thoughts find form. Let's use the wind of Genius Loci and fly out of the cage and enter a world that is full of new and precious vistas. And let's cultivate an open dialogue in whatever we do with each other, and let's open this dialogue to more and more people. I end my thoughts by expressing my deep gratitude to each and all of you, really to each of you, really to all of you. Grazie mille, muchas gracias, evcharisto, poli, multimesh, mul. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tobias, for your beautiful poetical questions and visions. Very touching. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now it should be the time of Professor Alessandro Isoni, the scientific coordinator of Genius Loci and professor of political history of political institutions of University of Salento. Professor Isoni is not here for familiar reasons. We give our best wishes for the birth of his daughter. So, but he recorded a video, so he gave a video contribution. And I ask please to Simonetta to show the contribution of Professor Alessandro Isoni of University of Salento. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm sorry not to be present to this event, but as Fabio knows, my wife is in hospital in this moment, and we are going to have a baby, so it's not allowed to me to be present to this event, but I would like to be involved in this afternoon with a little contribution from myself. As Fabio knows, and as our department for a long time, since a long time, is studying different features about cultural heritage. Our department, the name is Department of History, Society and Human Studies, is involved in different projects from an anthropological point of view, but also from a social and historical point of view regarding and concerning the cultural heritage. We are going also as University of Salento studying cultural heritage in a widest project that is the master plan of Terra d'Otranto. That is an ambitious project that our rector is going to produce with all the public authorities in the three provinces of Lecce, Brindisi and Taranto, and I'm involved concerning the environment and also the landscape. Why the cultural heritage is so important for our department? For a first, because we are studying with our historians and our people and studying geography all the features that are related to cultural heritage. In our opinion, cultural heritage is composed by at least three elements. The first is an historical, in a high sense, elements. Historical concerning, for example, political, institutional, and other features. The second feature that is most important for us and also for you is concerning the social feature. Social feature is related to normal people. So people that are not studied very well by classical historians, but they are the first and the most important characters in our lives. Normal people are people that develop and build also the cultural identity of all the territories around the world. And they are neglected by classical historians because they are not considered so important for them, but actually they are the real characters, as I said, of history. So our involvement in this project is related to this point of view. We are very interested in studying all performative arts as a typical kind of expression of people coming from the milieu that are not considered very well by classical historians. Tradition is the key word in this point of view. The tradition is not only something that is dead and that is so considered something that arrived from a past that is definitely past, but tradition, in our opinion, is something that is alive. And so for us, tradition is something that is important to study because we need to have a direct link with our past. We know also that, for example, recalling the lecture from Eric Osborne, that sometimes traditions are invented. So there is like a project, a plan created by somebody, typical political man or institution, that use tradition like a kind of instrument or tool to make more cohesive societies that are widespread from cleavages and tensions between different parts of the society. Concerning Salento, but I think also concerning, for example, Greek experience, but also Romanian experience and Spanish experience, we are not facing a kind of invented tradition. All the performative arts that you created during this project and that you are studying since a lot of time are characterized by a renewed view of tradition. So the tradition is not considered as something that is dead, but is considered like something that is alive and that it's also possible to give us new opportunities to understand our societies and to understand also our different problems and our different opportunities. In this view, tradition is like a gate towards the future and not a gate towards the past. Tradition is a way to imagine our future, to create societies that are open to future and open to challenges that the future is facing to us. And tradition is the only way, I think, in my opinion, is I'm very certain about this point. Tradition is the only way in order to have societies that are not conflictual, but that are oriented towards a more organic view of our future. In this way, tradition in concerning all the dimension of this project is could be considered as a Euro-Mediterranean tradition, where there is a side that is taken by the Mediterranean side, but also a side that is taken by the European tradition. The Euro-Mediterranean point of view is a point of view that is a dialogical tradition. There is the opportunity to have a dialogue between different sectors and different also nationalities, identities, cultural identities, in a way that is not a colonialistic way, but it's considered like something that is open to the other. The confrontation between culture is the key to have a Euro-Mediterranean identity, an identity where people keep their identity, but they are also open to create like a tissage among the different cultural identities. And the theatrical activities and the performative arts are one of the best ideal places where to create this synthesis between different cultural identities. So for me, for me and for our department, it's very important to be involved in this kind of project, and we are also open to the contribution that came from performative arts, and we hope that this is one of the step in this collaboration, and we hope also that there will be other way of cooperation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Professor Alessandro Isoni for this important contribution, and especially for this key concept of tradition as a gate to the future, and as something alive, heritage as something alive and multicultural. So now I am very pleased to give the floor to Fabio Tolledi, the Artistic Director of Astràgali Teatro and General Artistic Coordinator of the project, with whom we share many things, and this long journey also of Genius Loci amongst the others. Please, Fabio.
I'm very glad to meet for the first time Roberta Quarta. No, okay. I want to start. There are many things to say, and also I have chosen the title for this conference that is there is a connection between archive, future, cultural heritage, and performing arts. And also I want to share some sketches that I did, and also I will try to say something that for me it's in this moment very important. And also the first is a quotation that is connected with the Orphic golden inscription, and also is a very old text of the Orphic tradition in South Italy, in Calabria, in Vibo Valentia. And the text translated in Italian is "Or datemi presto a bere la fresca acqua che scorre dal lago di Bremosine," and generally is translated "But give me to drink from the overflowing spring but the Italian mention is that flow from the lake of Mnemosine. And you know, Mnemosine is the muse connected with the memory and with the remembering. And this aspect, I think it's very essential for the contradiction that we are fronting when we speak about an archive, a cultural heritage, and also a dimension connected with the performing arts. I think that we have lost this connection in many, many parts of our life. Also for the condition that we are living in, and the condition that we are living also in this pandemic situation. We are not in connection with the bodies of everyone, but also we are living in a dimension of disconnection, in dimension of stay not near and close, body to body. When I have written something about the importance of Aby Warburg research. Aby Warburg, you know, is one of the most important scholars of the images, a new perspective from the beginning of the last century, of the 20th century, start in the idea to find in the images, in the pictures, something connected with something that is very old, but in the same time is something very present. There is a very strange connection also, because Aby Warburg, the most important work was a project, the Atlas of Mnemosine. And this word come back like the lake of the laminas, Orphic laminas. The lake of Mnemosine became an atlas in which we can try to start to seek for something very important, seek for something that continue, a permanent presence in which we can find what Aby Warburg say, the pathos formal, something that can connect us with an idea of feeling, with a perception, and something that can be transformed our existence with the connection of a very old knowledge, our heritage in this sense. But also, I have found another keyword, and also is a keyword that is connected also with the title of this meeting, is the word of archive. You know that Jacques Derrida has dedicated a lot of studies and writings connected with this word. But if we can see with more attention, go near to this aspect, we have to start with another German person, Walter Benjamin, with the definition of Eingedenken. What is Eingedenken is a very important process also for me, for our work in Astràgali Teatro, and generally with the deep sense of the projects that we are trying to develop in our last 20 years. There is a connection with Eingedenken, is a dimension to remember the future, to build another opportunity. In this sense, I think that words of Alessandro Isoni start to do something, but I think that the future is not only an invention, like in the definition of Eric Hobsbawm, also is an opportunity that we have forgotten in a certain way. We can find in the future what is our connection with another opportunities. The future is something that can reveal that was not really developed and transformed in the past. And also in this way, we have a deep connection between the past and the future. In a certain way, we can always, we reinvent the past, but always we have to find this connection between present, future, and past. And also, I think that is another essential dimension of performing arts. You know, the contradiction, the dissociate experience of the actors, of the dancers. He knows, she knows very well what she or he has to do. But also, like my master teach me, we have to be surprised by our action. We are living in the present. We are discovering the future, but also we have a real connection with the past. But another expression of Walter Benjamin, very essentially, Jetztzeit, the time now and here, that is the secret of theater. The theater not only for the performers, the theater also for the audience that are living an experience in this moment, in this place. And also, in the meanwhile, we are living the condition of a contradiction to stay with the theater closed, with the spaces, the common space is not open. Another aspect of the Walter Benjamin research, we know very well, is the collector. The collector is a person that is connected with the archive. And there is also an obsession of the collector. We have to collect everything. And also, it's very famous, the attitude of Walter Benjamin to collect everything. Postcard, toys, touristic guide, a volume, very impressive, of something that is destined to be lost. But in this condition, the collector is connected with another figure, the flaneur, the person that loses his time or her time. Because another aspect essential of the perturbative idea of archive is the incertitude. We are in ambiguous time. We want to live in a dimension very well ordered, but also there is a big disorder always. Like in the Atlas of Mnemosyne of Aby Warburg, you can see sequences of images, one aside to the other, but you are losing the sense of the order because you are recreating another order. Then, to come back to Jacques Derrida, the word archive, there is a very important text, is the archive fever is in English, in Spanish and in Italian is mal d'archivio. There is a sense of something that, like in the research of Benjamin, to collect everything is like a fever. We are obsessed to collect many, many things, but always we are in connection with something that is not possible to stop, to stay still. In Memory of Blind, Jacques Derrida speak about skiography. Skiography is the ancestor of the photography. And this word is shadow writing. And this aspect is very impressive for me in connection with something that we have hosted in our meeting. It's something connected with the shadow always, because the theater, the performing arts, and the archive are also always in connection with this aspect of shadow. You know, the shadow theater is one of the older witness that we have of performing arts. But this presence of shadow is something connected with the shamanic tradition too. It's very clear. In the Japanese tradition, we have the story of Amaterasu. That was a story connected with the Persephone's myth in Greece. And also is something connected with the pre-Olympic myth of Baubo. That is the beginning, the birth, the origin of the comedy. In this case, always we had some figures that are projected on the wall of the cave by some fire. The light of the fire projects the shadows, and the people reconquer the life. In this connection that we are not able to stop between the circle of life and death and life is a continuous, is a circle with no hand that we have in front of us. But also this connection of the photography of the ghost. And also I want to stress this aspect. We have many words to say different aspects of this concept. We have a spectrum that is connected also with the action of sea, the ghost, the phantom, the spirit, and the shadow, finally. But in the history of theater, always we have stories of phantom, of spirits. It's very clear, the quotation to Hamlet. The spirit appears, the spirit continue to have a continuous presence. And this idea of spectrum, of ghost, of phantom, of spirit, of shadow, is something that continue to exist in the need to create an archive. Archive is something connected with the arche, something that stay in the old, in the origin of everything that we can remember, and also with the archos, is the order, the hierarchy, for example, is the law, the order that we have to observe. Also, this aspect can continue to be perturbed by the element of the voice. The voice is something that is not clear. Where comes from the voice is not clear. And where is the voice of an actor? Where is the voice of the ghost of Hamlet? And also, this aspect is something that continue to stay in this very strong connection between cultural heritage, the creation of an archive that is not clear. What is an idea, is an utopia, or like Foucault says, is an heterotopia, in which we can define continuously a new dimension of past, a new opportunity for the present, a new dream for the future. And also, we have another aspect very important. Jacques Derrida, when speak about the archive, both in Archive Fever, then in the Memory of Blind, create a quotation with the story of Gradiva of Jensen. That was one of the most important studies of Sigmund Freud for the creation of the theory of the dream. Freud has written to Jensen to say, do you know my theory? And Jensen said, no, I don't know nothing about you. But Jensen in Gradiva create a repertoire of the importance of the dream that is not connected with the reality. That is a word that we use for the television production also. It creates an opportunity in dream. The dream can create something that is an opportunity for our life. It's not something that not allow to the life of everyone. Also, I think, to try to finish this series of sketches, that the opportunity of our common project of Genius Loci is something connected with the genius, of course. And also the genius is another name to say spectrum, ghost, phantom, spirit, or shadow. This opportunity is very important for our life, also in this moment in which the concrete connection between women and men are living a crisis very, very incredible. Also, to finish this little intervention, I think that we are working to create an archive. Also, was very interesting the activities of Spanish ITI and also the activities of Instituto de Danza Alicia Alonso about the archive, to create an archive on the performing arts that open very important other questions, very important other opportunities, because we have now an archive of the performing arts, because, for example, we have no archive of the activities of actors and actresses all over the world. If I have to define, for example, all the theatrology of the many actors, it's very, very difficult. It's quite impossible. We can have something for the directors in a certain way, because was institutionalized these activities. But for the actors, it's very difficult to create a real archive of the work on stage of acting. I think that this creates another opportunity. The origin of theater is always a way to call the ancestor of the spectrum, to recall always the shadows. And we are living always on the stage in this very ambiguous dimension. I define, according with my master, Georges Lapassade, that we have a dissociated experience that is a vital dimension, a vital tool to overcome. And also, I think this is the very important secret of theater, to stay in connection with the shadow and to continue to have a life very concrete, in contact, touching the hands of our colleagues, of our comrades on the stage, and also in the platea. You know, Kostas and Giovanna knows very well. The name platea that we use for the audience is the square, is something that is in connection with the civil life of everyone. Especially in this moment, I think that we know to relaunch the pathos formel of Aby Warburg, the idea of the revival in the images of something that we have in our deep memory, and also another opportunity for the future, for our common projects, for the future in presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fabio, for your deep reflections and for building up new perspectives always. And now I'm very pleased to give the floor to Professor Alberto Garcia Castano, Director of the Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso of the University of Madrid, Rey Juan Carlos, and President of the Spanish Center of the International Theatre Institute. The Institute of Dance was a partner of the project and gave a very important, beautiful contribution to Genius Loci, especially related to the involvement of young creators, of educators, and also through the creation of original performances. So thank you very much for your contribution to the project. And Professor Castano, that is also a very dear friend, will be translated by Luis Gerena Diaz, Secretary General of the Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso and Vice President of the Spanish Center of ITI. Please, Alberto and Luis, and thank you very much. The microphone, Alberto.
El micrófono, Alberto.
Thank you. Gracias.
Bueno, repito. Muchas gracias, Roberta, por la presentación. Yo voy a hablarles de la creación de repositorios virtuales. A partir...
Thank you very much, Roberta, for your introduction. I'm going to talk to you about the creation of the virtual project. Alberto, tienes que bajar el micrófono o algo. Excuse me.
Sí.
Okay.
Ya. A partir de la Convención UNESCO 2003 sobre la salvaguarda del patrimonio inmaterial y de la creación de del comité. Un segundo. No sé por qué mi teléfono está haciendo interferencia. Vamos a ver ahora. A partir de la Convención UNESCO de 2003 sobre la salvaguarda del patrimonio inmaterial y de la creación del Comité Intergubernamental para la Salvaguarda del Patrimonio Inmaterial, se desarrolla un nuevo concepto de artes escénicas que se amplía bajo la denominación de artes del espectáculo. Esto supone un nuevo enfoque que se amplía bajo la denominación de artes del espectáculo. Una nueva visión integradora y multidisciplinar del trabajo en equipo que incluye aspectos tales como la dramaturgia, la música, la dirección artística, la dirección de escena, el diseño, iluminación, vestuario, etc.
Creation of a virtual repository. Since the 2003 UNESCO Convention on the Safeguarding of the Intangible Heritage and the creation of the Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Heritage, a new concept of performing arts is developed that expands concepts under the name of performing arts. This supposes a new approach of an integrative and multidisciplinary vision of teamwork that includes aspects such as dramaturgy, music, artistic direction, stage direction, lighting design, costumes design, etc.
A partir de esta nueva perspectiva, los repositorios, casi siempre dedicados a recoger informaciones sobre los resultados de investigaciones científicas, comienzan a orientarse a aspectos de la creatividad humana, partiendo de la cultura como pilar del desarrollo sostenible, y esto incluye el patrimonio, la creatividad y la transmisión de conocimientos.
From this new perspective, the repositories, almost always designed to collect information on the results of scientific research, starts to focus on aspects of human creativity based on culture as a pillar of sustainable development, and this includes heritage, creativity, and transmission of knowledge.
El término repositorio viene del latín repositorium, que significa armario o almacenaje. No obstante, habré de referirme a un tipo específico de repositorio, al de los repositorios virtuales, que son instalaciones donde se depositan los resultados de las investigaciones científicas o relacionadas con las creaciones artísticas como medio de difusión del conocimiento y de la técnica, así como sus interacciones con la naturaleza y la historia, infundiendo sentimientos de identidad que contribuyen, por otra parte, a promover el respeto a la diversidad cultural.
The term repository comes from the Latin repositorium, which means storage closet. However, I will have to refer to a specific type of virtual repositories, which are facilities where the results of scientific research and related to artistic creations are placed as a means of dissemination, knowledge, and techniques, as well as their interactions with nature and history, instilling feelings for identity that also contribute to promoting respect for cultural diversity.
La ventaja de este tipo de repositorio es que las fuentes originales permanecen siempre en poder de sus propietarios, que deben autorizar su uso de acuerdo con las leyes, así como su difusión en abierto para la consulta de investigadores y estudiosos de las artes escénicas, siempre bajo la garantía de que no pueden ser reproducidos ni utilizados con fines comerciales o de otra índole.
The advantage of this type of repositories is that the original sources always remain in the power of their owners, who must authorize their use in accordance to law, as well as their possible open dissemination for the consultation of researchers and academics of the performing arts, always under the guarantee that they cannot be reproduced or used for commercial or other purposes. The documents will be watermarked, protected by technological means that make downloading impossible. However, whoever did so would incur in a crime punishable by law for breaking the rules that protect intellectual property, copyright, image, and exploitation rights, as the case may be.
Teniendo en cuenta estos factores, la Fundación de la Danza Alicia Alonso se propuso la creación de un repositorio de danza e inició su labor alcanzando un acuerdo con el Museo Nacional de la Danza de la República de Cuba. Partiendo de la Resolución 59, aprobada en 1997 por el Consejo Ejecutivo de la UNESCO, mediante la cual se declaraba efeméride del bienio el 50 aniversario del Ballet Nacional de Cuba, como principal exponente de la denominada Escuela Cubana de Ballet, y que atendiendo a su grado de implantación a nivel nacional, regional e internacional, la UNESCO calificó como una inestimable contribución al patrimonio cultural de la humanidad.
Taking this into account, the Alicia Alonso Dance Foundation planned the creation of a dance repository and began its work by reaching an agreement with the National Museum of Dance of the Republic of Cuba, whose objective in principle was to preserve the heritage of Alicia Alonso and the National Ballet of Cuba, based on the Resolution 559, 1997, approved unanimously by the Executive Council of UNESCO, by which the 50th anniversary of the Cuban National Ballet was declared the anniversary of the biennium as the main exponent of the so-called Cuban School de Escuela Cubana de Ballet, or Cuban School of Ballet, and that according to its degree of implementation at the national, regional, and international levels, UNESCO qualified as an immeasurable contribution to the cultural heritage of humanity.
La segunda cuestión que se planteaba era la obtención de los recursos financieros para llevar a cabo esta tarea. Y para ello era preciso contar con un inventario inicial que arrojó más de 30.000 documentos, que incluían libros, carteles, programas, cartas, filmaciones, grabaciones históricas, etc. Una vez localizadas las piezas, comenzaron las tareas de investigación para la documentación de cada una de las piezas, en lo que respecta a restauración, catalogación, digitalización, registrarlas e iniciar las cargas en los contenedores para que pudieran ser recolectadas por las bibliotecas virtuales de la Unión Europea, hispana y europeana, y garantizar así su difusión internacional en abierto.
The second question that arose was obtaining the financial resources to carry out this task, and it was necessary to have an initial inventory that produced more than 30,000 documents that included books, posters, programs, letters, historical recordings. Once the pieces were detected, the investigation task began to document each one of them, restore them, catalog them, digitalize them, register them, and start the loads in the containers so that they could be collected by the virtual libraries of the European Union, Hispana, and Europeana archives, and guarantee their open international broadcasting.
Posteriormente, estos fondos documentales y de investigación han sido enriquecidos con actividades de la propia Fundación y de su Instituto Universitario de la Danza Alicia Alonso, con estudios plasmados en tesis doctorales, publicaciones, grabaciones y actividades de jóvenes intérpretes y creadores.
Afterwards, this documentary and research funds have been enriched with activities of the foundation itself and its Universitary Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso, with studies reflected in the PhD thesis, publications, recordings, and activities of young performers and creators.
Toda esta tarea ha requerido servicios de expertos, formación de personal, elaboración de medidas normativas para la protección de los derechos de autor, difusión de la información y actualización de datos, creación y utilización de infraestructuras, aportaciones de material y conocimientos especializados.
All of this work has required expert services, staff training, development of regulatory measures for the protection of copyright, dissemination of information and uploading of data, creation and use of infrastructures, contributions of material and specialized knowledge.
Para la obtención de recursos financieros, se ha contado con aportaciones del Ministerio de Cultura de España provenientes de la Dirección General de Archivos y Bibliotecas y otros recursos captados del sector privado por la Fundación de la Danza Alicia Alonso. En lo relativo a la formación, se ha obtenido ayuda de la Comisión Europea a través del proyecto European Video Dance Heritage para la preservación del patrimonio inmaterial con la participación de otros 6 países.
In order to obtain financial resources, contributions have been made from the Ministry of Culture of Spain, from the General Directorate of Archives and Libraries, and other resources obtained from the private sector by the Alicia Alonso Dance Foundation. With regard to training, help has been obtained from the European Commission through the European Video Dance Heritage Project for the preservation of the intangible heritage with the participation of 6 other countries.
En estos momentos, la internacionalización del repositorio de danza Alicia Alonso pasa por la obtención de nuevas ayudas, tanto de las entidades locales públicas o privadas, como de las internacionales, como la Comisión Europea o la UNESCO, a través del Fondo para la Salvaguarda del Patrimonio Inmaterial.
At this time, the internationalization of the Alicia Alonso Dance Repository is involved in obtaining new aid from both local, public, or private entities, and international entities such as the European Commission for UNESCO through the Fund for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Heritage.
En este último aspecto, estamos valorando las alianzas estratégicas como el acuerdo suscrito con la Federación Española de Asociaciones Folclóricas, partiendo del proyecto no de ley aprobado por el Congreso que fuera promovido por esta organización acerca de la preservación de las danzas tradicionales españolas. Es necesario hacer acuerdos con universidades españolas y extranjeras considerando las prioridades de la UNESCO, teniendo en cuenta por otra parte que para el acceso a estos fondos UNESCO, al igual que la Comisión Europea, se exige acuerdo entre 2 o más países.
In this last aspect, right now, we are evaluating strategic alliances such as the agreement signed with the Spanish Federation of Folkloric Associations, based on proposition approved by the Congress that was promoted by this organization concerning the preservation of traditional Spanish dances. It is necessary to make agreements with Spanish and foreign universities considering the priorities of UNESCO, taking into account, on the other hand, that for access to the UNESCO funds, like the European Commission, it requires an agreement between 2 or more countries.
Tras las celebraciones virtuales del Día Internacional del Teatro y de la Danza, y haber constatado el potencial del ITI, en nuestra modesta opinión, la organización está en condiciones de elaborar un calendario para la puesta en marcha de la creación del repositorio global de las artes del espectáculo, que incluya una panorámica universal del teatro, la danza y la música. Y por esto les propongo que trabajemos en esta línea con los países que estén dispuestos a acometer este proyecto. Muchas gracias.
After the virtual celebrations of the International Day of Theatre and Dance, and having verified the potential of the ITI, in my modest opinion, the organization is in a position to draw up a calendar for the launch of a creation of a global repository of performing arts that include a universal overview of theater, dance, and music. And I propose that we should work on this line with the countries that are willing to undertake this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alberto, for presenting your remarkable experience on archives and also for this very interesting proposal that certainly sees us very, very much interested. Thank you so much, and also for showing that archives are an active source of inspiration for contemporary creation, which is essential indeed. Thank you very much, Luis. Also, I would be very pleased also, Luis, if you would like to say something also about these reflections that we are wrapping up around Genius Loci project in this final phase.
I think I will say it at the end, if you don't mind.
Okay. Of course not. So I will give the floor to Professor Carlos Roldan Lopez, Director of the Department of Theory and Performing Arts and Applied Sciences of the Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso, and Professor of Aesthetics and Theory of Arts. Thank you very much to Professor Roldan, please.
Buenas tardes a todas. Muchísimas gracias a las amigas y amigos del ITI por volverme a invitar a estar con vosotros, y muchas gracias también por todo lo que estoy aprendiendo esta tarde. Bien, he llamado a este conjunto de ideas que quiero compartir con vosotros. Lo he llamado, decía que he llamado a estos conjuntos de ideas que voy a compartir con vosotros el deseo de ser un piel roja, artes escénicas y patrimonio inmaterial para un nuevo imaginario emancipatorio del siglo XXI. En el siglo XIX emerge con fuerza la noción de patrimonio inmaterial, como consecuencia de los principios de la Ilustración, la Revolución Industrial y el progreso científico. De su confluencia emerge un concepto de patrimonio cultural relacionado con la glorificación de la ciencia y de sus logros, la consolidación de los estados-nación, las representaciones simbólicas de la historia y el pasado nacionales, la concepción burguesa, en definitiva, del término de cultura, que era entendido como sinónimo de gusto, distinción, refinamiento, placer y emoción ante las artes.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to give the thanks to all the partners that I already have here, and for inviting me again to say some words of reflection on the fact of this project. The project, this reflection, I have called it the desire to be a redskin, performing arts and intangible heritage for a new emancipated imaginary in the 21st century. In the 19th century, emerged strongly the notion of the intangible heritage as a consequence of the principles of the Age of Enlightenment, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and the scientific progress. of its convergence emerged a concept of the cultural heritage related to the glorification of science and its achievements, the consolidation of the state's nations, the symbolic representations of national past and history, the bourgeois conception of the term culture, understood as synonym of taste, distinction, refinement, pleasure, and emotion towards the arts.
En las artes escénicas, esto implicó la escenificación de pautas culturales civilizadas, delimitando una separación conceptualmente errónea entre los llamados pueblos con cultura y el ocaso de los llamados pueblos bárbaros o sin cultura. Hoy esta noción no puede más que resultarnos completamente restringida, cuando no directamente errónea, pero nos hace entender que el patrimonio cultural es un concepto bidimensional, está socialmente construido y a su vez es constructor de realidad sociocultural.
In the case of the performing arts, this implied the staging of civilized, between quotes, cultural guidelines, delimiting, separating, conceptually wrong between the so-called, between quote lines, people with culture, and the sunset of the barbarian or primitive people, or people who with no culture. Nowadays, this notion can't but mean to us as a completely restricted one or directly wrong, but it makes us understand that the culture heritage is a bidimensional concept. It is socially built, and it's builder of a social-cultural reality.
Este concepto ha permanecido asido a prácticas sociales de acumulación, de tentación y transmisión de conocimientos culturales. También a la conservación de objetos y edificios monumentales, la erudición y a la historia de las grandes naciones e imperios. Es, por tanto, un concepto nómada que cambia o fluctúa en función del combate por lo que se entienda como cultura. Jacques Derrida diría el combate por el discurso.
It has reminded the concept anchored to social practices of accumulation, the tentation and transmission of cultural knowledges, also to the preservation of objects and monumental buildings, erudition, and the history of great nations and empires, and thus it is a nomad concept which changes and flows according to the struggle about what is understood as culture. Jacques Derrida would say, the struggle for the discourse.
De entonces a hoy, las concepciones de cultura, patrimonio cultural, han dado un giro sorprendente, recorriendo un camino repleto de cambios semánticos significativos. Se advierte que primero hubo una actitud etnocéntrica, autocomplaciente y apologética de la cultura y sociedad occidentales con respecto al resto.
From then until now, the conceptions about culture, cultural heritage, and museum have taken an astonishing turn, traveling a path full of meaningful semantic changes. It can be noticed that first, there was an ethnocentric attitude, self-indulgent and apologetic of the Western cultures and societies which respect to the rest.
Luego se abandonó, asomando en su lugar una postura crítica, opuesta a las concepciones y usos precedentes. El concepto de patrimonio cultural es cambiante, porque la noción de cultura es inconstante, lo que se debe a que ésta tiende a mudar de significado. En los últimos años se ha implantado un elevado número de talleres, centros culturales, museos fuera de Occidente, al igual que en las regiones y pueblos periféricos de Europa y otros lugares de Occidente.
Later, it was abandoned, emerging instead a critical attitude opposed to the previous conceptions and uses. The concept of cultural heritage is changeable because of the notion of culture tends to relocate its meaning. Through the last years, there have been implemented a high number of museums, workshops, and cultural centers outside of the West, as in regions peripheral to Europe and in Western locations.
UNESCO es un organismo internacional cuyos estudios y recomendaciones han contribuido a un desplazamiento semántico del término patrimonio, cada vez más cerca de la mentalidad de las artes escénicas contemporáneas. Quiero reivindicar en este punto el cambio de enfoque al que nos referimos, que llega a UNESCO, entre otras razones, por dos encargos de este organismo al antropólogo y filósofo Claude Lévi-Strauss, que redactó los libros Raza e Historia y Raza y Cultura, publicados en 1952 y en 1971 respectivamente. Lévi-Strauss subrayó lo incorrecto de discutir acerca de las diferencias humanas en términos logocéntricos, que es lo que sucede cuando para examinar los hechos sociales el analista recurre al concepto tríada del tipo raza, cultura, civilización. Lévi-Strauss escribió que las diferencias culturales no serían el efecto inmediato de diferencias biológicas, sino la constatación empírica de que el fundamento de la humanidad es precisamente la diversidad cultural.
UNESCO is an international organization. Its studies and recommendations have contributed to the semantic shifting of the term heritage, more and more closer to the mindset of the contemporary performing arts. I would like to defend at this point the change of focus to which we refer. It reaches the UNESCO through the commissioned works to the philosopher and anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss, which he titled Race and History and Race and Culture, published in 1952 and 1971, respectively. Lévi-Strauss stresses the fact of the wrongness of debating towards the human differences in logocentric terms. That is what happens when the analyst turns to try concepts of the kind of race, culture, civilization. Lévi-Strauss wrote that the cultural differences are not only the immediate effect of the biological interracial of inter-ethnic differences, but the empirical acknowledgements that the fundament of humanity is the cultural diversity.
Como conclusión, debemos ahondar en esta tendencia universalista y diversificadora del término cultura, enfrentada a esa concepción de erario encapsular en un museo, como un conjunto de derechos y deberes a tramitar en un despacho de la administración pública, o como un simple marcador de identidad social y política, o como una industria más. Como nos advierte Lévi-Strauss, en la gran variedad de culturas, conductas, estructuras lingüísticas y narraciones míticas de los humanos, hay patrones compartidos universales que debemos profundizar, lo cual es para mí la tarea principal de instituciones como el ITI UNESCO y la misión prioritaria de las artes escénicas contemporáneas. La modernidad colocó a los artistas en un pedestal, pero al mismo tiempo los puso en un rincón, aislados de las necesidades vitales de la sociedad. Y el arte se volvió así un lujo mercancía al alcance de unos pocos.
To start concluding, we should deepen into this universalist and diversifying orientation of the term culture, opposed to that conception of the treasury of encapsulate in a museum, as a group of rights and duties to manage in an office of the public administration, as an indicator of social and political identity, or as an industry as any other. As Levi-Strauss warns us, is the great variety of cultures, conducts, linguistic structures, and mythical narrations of the human beings, there are shared universal patterns in which we should deepen and share, which is for me the first task that are fostering institutions such as ITI UNESCO and the priority mission of the contemporary performing arts. The modern era placed the artists in a pedestal, but at the same time, it placed them in a corner, isolated from the vital needs of the society. Art became a luxury or a merchandise available only for a few.
Peter Brook, refiriéndose a su propia práctica, hablaba de la necesidad de desafiar todos los elementos que en todos los países colocan a la forma teatral en un marco muy cerrado, aprisionándolo dentro de un lenguaje, de un estilo, de una clase social, de un edificio, de un cierto tipo de público. La posibilidad de encontrar nuevos vínculos culturales apareció mediante el intento de hacer del acto teatral algo inseparable de la necesidad de establecer nuevas relaciones con diferentes personas y pueblos. Si bien es cierto que toda expresión artística tiene una dimensión económica, esta debe estar subordinada a la pregunta de cómo pueden las artes escénicas recuperar su significado cultural, simbólico, ético, estético o ritual. Es ahí donde las artes escénicas, comprometidas con la dimensión humana de una época específica, debe deconstruir el sentido de lo humano mismo y no puede, a riesgo de quedarse sola, encerrarse en el narcisismo ni la autocomplacencia. El pensamiento filosófico es hoy inseparable de la creación artística. Como decía Nietzsche, no hay más filósofo ya que el artista.
Peter Brook, referring to his own practice, spoke about the need to defy all elements in all countries which place the theatrical form in a very closed frame, imprisoning it in a language, in a style, in a social class, in a building, or a certain audience. The possibility to find new cultural bonds appeared by means of trying to make the theatrical act something inseparable from the need of establishing new relations with different people. While it is true that all artists' expressions has an economic dimension, this one should be subordinated to the questions of how the performing arts can recover their cultural, symbolic, ethical, aesthetically, or ritual significance. It is there where the performing arts engage with the human dimension of a specific and should unbuild the same sense of the human, and it can't, to the risk of staying alone, too closed up in narcissism and self-indulgence. The philosophical thought is today inseparable from the artistic creation because, as Nietzsche said, there is no more philosopher than the artist.
La misión última es condensar al mundo poéticamente, en un cuerpo iluminado y en estado de emoción. Y hoy, ahora, asistimos al proceso inverso que hizo nacer al concepto de patrimonio inmaterial. Nos hemos cansado de ser occidentales. No vemos ya nada atrayente en nuestra occidentalidad. Hemos liberado todo lo que era liberable. Liberación política, liberación sexual, liberación animal, liberación económica, liberación religiosa. Como nos advierte Baudrillard, todo ha sido liberado. Todas las metas han quedado detrás de nosotros y a los occidentales solo nos queda simular que seguimos acelerando en la misma dirección. Pero ya desde 1968 no hacemos más que acelerar en el vacío. El proyecto de modernidad occidental está agotado. Para finalizar, es obvio que la globalización, la digitalización de la vida y el relato pandémico que ha prevalecido en las sociedades mundiales nos obliga como artistas escénicos a una actividad centrada en dos enfoques. Evitar que la tribalización inevitable, como consecuencia de la medicalización de las relaciones sociales, conlleve a su vez una situación ya superada de enfrentamiento o discursos de predominio cultural. Y por otro lado, una profundización del nomadismo del concepto de cultura que nos haga cada vez más libres, más exóticos y menos identitarios. Urge una práctica escénica que revalorice la presencialidad, también entendida digitalmente, la corporalidad, no solo entendida como discurso biológico, y la tribalización, sin que ello suponga repliegue. Somos artefactos, es decir, cuerpos hechos con arte. Necesitamos desesperadamente aquellas culturas que una vez intentamos destruir. Necesitamos bailar alrededor del fuego, aullar a la luna, reconciliarnos con la tierra, convertirnos en pieles rojas y que se nos caiga el currículum por los agujeros de los bolsillos. Muchas gracias.
The ultimate mission is to condense the world poetically in an illuminated body and in a state of emotion. And today, now, we attend to the inverse process which made the concept of intangible heritage born. We are tired of being Western. We don't see anymore nothing attractive in our Western sense. We have liberated everything that could be liberated: political liberation, sexual liberation, animal liberation, economical liberation, religious liberation. As Baudrillard advised us, everything has been liberated. All goals have stayed behind us, and to the Western, it only remains to simulate that we keep on accelerating in the same direction. But from 1968, we don't do anything more than accelerating to the emptiness. The modern Western project is worn out. At last, it is obvious that globalization, the digitalization of life, and the pandemic narrative which have prevailed in the world societies oblige us as performing artists to an activity centered in two approaches: to avoid that the inevitable tribalism as a consequence of the medicalization of the social relations leads us to an already surpassed situation of confrontation or discourses of cultural predominance, and in the other hand, a detailing of the nomadism of the concept of culture, which make us more and more exotic, more free, but less identitary. It urges a stage practice which increases the value of presentiality, also understood digitally, the corporeality not only understood as a biological speech and a trivialization without meaning to withdraw. We are artifacts, to say, bodies with art. We need desperately those cultures which once we tried to destroy. We need to dance around the fire, howl at the moon, reconcile, turn ourselves into redskins. We need our curriculums to fall down through the holes of our pockets. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for your complex reflection, for recalling also the urge to connect to vital needs. Thank you so much. And thank you to Lewis for the translation. Do I give you the floor now, Lewis, or at the very end, as you want?
At the very end, very end.
Okay. So now, thank you very much. And now I'm very happy to give the floor to dear friend, cultural expert, Alina Ioana Vasiliu from Constanta State Theatre, artistic consultant and project manager. Constanta State Theatre was also an essential part of the project that gave a beautiful artistic contribution to it, and a constant dialogue and exchange. I take the chance also to make greetings to the fantastic artistic team that was involved in the project and did a great job. So please, Alina, I give you the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Roberta. And firstly, I'd like to thank to all the speakers before me because I have heard some very interesting ideas. And also, I'd like to thank the Spanish partner for showing us another path on which we can go from here. And I remembered something while listening to Fabio. I remembered about collecting. I remembered about the wonderful novel of the Nobel Prize winner Orhan Pamuk, The Museum of Innocence. It can be another piece in this puzzle of archives. It's about collecting as an act of love. The collection of all the objects that the loved one used at some point recreates the presence of the loved one and also recreates the love itself. Just an idea. Getting back to what I had to tell you now, thinking about the main topic of this final conference, the archives, I remembered some of the thoughts that Romanian actors wrote immediately after the first artistic residence of the project. The only in-person, not online residence that we had the opportunity to attend to just before the outbreak of the pandemic. One of the phrases that remained with me after Zakynthos residence was one wrote by Laura Jordan-Adrian. Connecting with your own memories. Memories are delicate and very important. We all have them. Memories are object of study for theater. This pandemic's restrictions made us reflect some more on the importance of archives and made us pay more attention to the quality of recordings because they constituted for some time, the only means to relate to our public. And when we put this together with the importance of memories for the theater, with the way in which memories continue to produce meaning along the years and the performances, we come to wonder if we can think of a way to better exploit them, to pick the exact pieces of memories that can help build new meanings. This can be helpful, especially given that working online is more difficult, especially in terms of communication between actors and directors. I will read some of the feedback given by Romanian actors after the residence in Zakynthos. Remus Archip wrote, "It was a very intense experience, during which I have learned a lot of useful things. The attitude of my colleagues from Spain, young students, gave me a new tone and rhythm, and the experience of the Italian director and actors, their way of working, made me discover new forms of expression as an actor." Laura Jordan Adrian wrote, "It is an experience that I hope not to forget soon, and that I want to share with specialized people. Basically, we return to essential things, which we have not practiced for a long time, to communicate, to look each other in the eye, to be attentive to ourselves and those around us, to be generous with each other." The meeting with the director Fabio Tolledi and the Italian actors was a meeting that I would recommend first to the actors and then to all the people, regardless of their profession. Alina Mansu wrote, "I had a lot to learn from this workshop and from the Italian director and actors and from the Spanish students. We learned from each other. I met, on the one hand, people very well trained in their profession. On the other hand, young people full of energy and enthusiasm. We borrowed from all of them." Georgiana Mazilescu. Georgiana Mazilescu is sad now. "I was very happy to be a part of the Genius Loci project. For me, this project has only one meaning: together. An international project that brings together young actors and mature actors from different cultures who have one universal language to share emotion, energy, life, through body language, through words and song. After 10 days of workshop, I have the feeling of completeness and joy. We can't exist alone, especially in art. A workshop that sends you to a meeting with your inner self." Fabio Tolledi is the director who scans your inside. And I will also read some of my observation after that workshop. "Observing the work of Astràgali theater artists in preparing a performance with cast formed of very different people, professional actors and students from different countries, is a beautiful experience. And it enhances for me the conviction that research theater is the really meaningful type of theater, since it gives both the actor and the audience the opportunity to find in themselves and in each other things that they weren't aware they had. Assisting at the birth of a performance, it is fascinating to see how director Fabio Tolledi, actresses Roberta Quarta and Simonetta Rotundo, and the other people of Astràgali are training and tutoring the performance in a varied and intensive program of 8 hours per day, mixing Oriental techniques with breath exercises, voice exercises, chorus, coordination exercises, and creative acting. It is interesting, above all, how the performance is created from disparate pieces of material that actors bring from themselves, becoming instruments for the antique myth of Medea to continue its creative process in contemporary times. Being a witness of the subtle, ineffable, almost mystical way in which the rehearsals flow, extracting with surgical precision the meaningful actions and feelings, I came to regard the Astràgali team almost like priests and priestesses of the ancient gods, in charge with conveying to the mortals of today the messages of Genius Loci. And their work requires, like in ancient times, discipline, focus, initiation, and mystery. After this golden age of Zakynthos, the project was continued with the means allowed by the law, online, and the creative residencies were adapted to the pandemic context. At the beginning of February, the Romanian residence took place, and we had several activities and events included in this residence. I will list them briefly. The first was the Twinning Performing Arts event, broadcast online on the Facebook pages of the Genius Loci project and of the State Theatre of Constanta, a recorded artistic moment in which artists from the Constanta State Theatre performed traditional Romanian songs and artists from Lecce performed traditional songs from Italy. Again, thank you, Roberta Quarta. Thank you, Simonetta Rotundo, for this wonderful moment. Who is My Neighbor was the event that included high school students from the Theoretical High School Ioan Cotovu from Hârșova, under the guidance of teacher Elena Manea. The students read online in rows some excerpts from the play Life is a Dream by Pedro Calderón de la Barca. The event gave students the opportunity to get in touch with Spanish dramatic literature, and the Spanish partners in the project from the Alicia Alonso Dance Foundation lectured for them about the author. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Roldan again for the beautiful presentation. As part of the community heritage activity, a documentary film was broadcast online on the Facebook pages with the topic of our region's tradition. The film is made by Iulia Pana, visual artist, journalist, and poet, a versatile personality recognized in our community. Iulia also collaborated on our previous project, Legends on Circular Ruins, as a poet, one of the events being an acting recital of her lyrics entitled Beyond the Stories, which was performed in Constanza, Italy, and Spain. The residence also included a theatrical exercise under the direction of Diana Mititelu. It was a short theatrical performance with actors Laura Iordan Adrian, Alina Manțu, Georgiana Mazilescu, and Remus Archiv from the State Theatre Constanța, and Onur Uysal, Turkish actor from the international troupe of Astràgali Theatre. Together, they explored the myth of the flyer, the demon of love, a very spectacular one and quite little exploited on the stage. In Romanian folklore, the flyer is a spirit that came at night to virgins or pregnant women and raped them. Finally, I want to thank you all again for this opportunity to be part of the Genius Loci project, to express my hope of being able to work again with you all in future projects, and also to pray for better times in which to enjoy working together in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, dear Alina, for sharing these touching memories and also the great experience that you brought in the project and all the experiences that we could share in these and previous projects. Constanza is a beautiful, inspiring city with a lot of creative energies. And we met there thanks to Ovidius somehow, and the metamorphosis
yes,
and
I'm
our
still
journey.
waiting. I'm still waiting for the poem that Fabio wrote in Constanza, and because I didn't get all the meanings when I heard it at the final performance, and okay, I'm waiting for it.
Yes, Matteo's just written down, and Fabio is revising it. So
and also, it's a very long text also, because I have read a part only, but I have written a lot.
Okay, send it all. Send it all, please.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alina. And
thank you.
Now from the beautiful Constanta on the Black Sea, we go to the island of Zakynthos, also extremely beautiful, where there was the golden age, as Alina said, of the first residents that we made in person. So I am very much pleased to give the floor to Kostas Kapodistrias, artistic director of Teatro Zakynthos, and to Giovanna Kapodistrias, project coordinator and actress of Teatro Zakynthos, with whom also we shared a lot of things over the course of the years. Please, Kostas.
Yes, after beautiful Constanza in Zakynthos, you know the Italian name of Zakynthos, Fiore di Levante is the name of Zakynthos in Italian language. I start with You know what is this It means that we start with the best, in the best way. We have a fantastic, we have 10 fantastic days here in Zakynthos, full of work and experiences and many things. And after, unfortunately, COVID was coming, and now we speak through internet. Anyway, I wrote some things to say, but the most of them I listened many of them from Tobias, from our colleagues from Spain, also from Alina, of course from Fabio. So I don't say many things. I'll read in my language, in Greek language, the part of Zakynthian theater, and Giovanna will translate it. So, I start, θα μιλήσω για το δικό μου μέρος. Το Ζακυνθινό παραδοσιακό θέατρο που έχει ιστορία τουλάχιστον 5 αιώνων και παρόλες τις δυσκολίες έχει καταφέρει να επιβιώσει. Giovanna.
Okay, hello from me. So we'll begin with my place, the Zakynthos traditional theater that has a history of at least 5 centuries, and despite all the difficulties has managed to survive.
Φοβάμαι ότι μετά το χτύπημα της πανδημίας θα δυσκολευτεί πολύ να ξαναλειτουργήσει.
I'm afraid that after the pandemic, the pandemic hit, it will be very difficult to recover from that.
Από τα μέσα του 20ου αιώνα αντιμετώπιζε πολλές δυσκολίες. Οι συνθήκες που δημιουργήθηκαν... Yes, okay, translate. Sentence by sentence.
It has been facing many difficulties since the middle of the 20th century.
Οι συνθήκες που δημιουργήθηκαν με τη μαζική εισβολή της τουριστικής λογικής δυσκόλεψαν πολύ τη λειτουργία του.
The conditions created by the massive invasion of the touristic made its operation very difficult.
Παρ' όλα αυτά, χάρη στην αντίσταση κάποιων επιστημόνων που ερευνούσαν το είδος, κατάφερε να σταθεί όρθιο.
Despite all of that, due to some very specific scientists who loved the traditional theater, could be kept alive.
Δημιουργήθηκαν εκδηλώσεις και έγιναν συνέδρια που τόνωσαν το ηθικό όσο είχαν την έφεση να ασχολούνται και έτσι παρέμεινε όρθιο.
conferences were held that boosted the morale of those who had the appeal to deal with that, and thus that remained standing.
Η ομιλία που παίχτηκε την Τσικνοπέμπτη στο Καταστάρι είναι ένα χαρακτηριστικό δείγμα.
The homilia that was played on the Thursday in Katastari in Cycnopempti was a typical example of that.
But it was not in Platea, Fabio. It was in a sale, but I think that it gives us pleasure to show it in this way. Well, δυστυχώς μετά από αυτή την εκδήλωση ήρθε το κενό. Η πανδημία πάγωσε τα πάντα. Εκτός από μια διασκευή της Λυσιστράτης του Αριστοφάνη σε ύφος Zakynthinu Λαϊκού Θεάτρου που παίχτηκε το περασμένο καλοκαίρι και έδωσε κάποιες ανάσες.
Okay, unfortunately, after this event, on the last residence of Genius Loci in Zakynthos, the first and last alive, the pandemic came, and the pandemic froze everything. Expect a remake of Aristophanes' Lysistrata in the style of Zakynthian folk theater that was played last summer in Zakynthos, and that gave us a lot of things to thought about.
Τέλος πάντων, για να μην λέω πολλά, πιστεύω ότι μόλις τελειώσει αυτή η περίοδος της απομόνωσης, χρειαζόμαστε ένα διεθνές συνέδριο στη Zakynthos που θα ασχοληθεί με το λαϊκό θέατρο και αφού το αναδείξει θα προτείνει τρόπους συνέχειάς του στο μέλλον.
Anyway, not to say a lot of things, I believe that once this period of isolation of lockdown is over, we need an international conference in Zakynthos about popular theater. We will deal with the popular theater, and after highlighting it as a phenomenon that it is, will show us ways to continue it in the future.
Σε αυτό χρειαζόμαστε τη βοήθεια διεθνών έγκυρων μηχανισμών όπως του ITI, International Theatre Institute, και του τμήματος άειλης κληρονομιάς της UNESCO, προκειμένου να δημιουργηθεί μια σταθερή δομή που θα εγγυάται τη συνέχεια.
In this, we need the help of international valid mechanisms such as the ITI, the International Theatre, and the Intangible Heritage Department of UNESCO in order to create a stable structure that will guarantee continuity in the future.
Και τότε ελπίζω να σας δω όλους στη Zakynthos και να ξαναβρεθούμε εδώ όλοι μαζί.
And after that, I hope that we can all meet together in Zakynthos and talk about all those beautiful things that has to do with our heritage.
Αυτά. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kostas and Juan, also for the strong work that you do on popular theater to make it alive and still important for the communities, not only in Greece. And thank you so much for all the work you've done for the project. So now we are reaching the end. I'm very pleased to give the floor to Luis Gerena Diaz, that is Secretary General of the Institute of Dance Alicia Alonso and Vice President of the Spanish Center of ITI. Just before giving the floor to Luis, I would like to thank a lot also Gloria Garcia Arambarri, that is not with us today because she has classes at the university, that gave also a very important contribution to the project. Please, Luis. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. First, I feel very happy to be here looking in the small screen, especially Fabio Tolledi with this boring face like this, trying to, but he's joking like always. He's more interested than no one. Now, well, first of all, I don't want to be, I have not prepared nothing, but because I was working in the backside of all the project all the time, you understand, working with the management and with the Gloria, very, very intensive translation, coordinating professors and coordinating many things. So in the end, here in this last moment of the closing of the ceremony, of the closing ceremony, let's say, of this project, I only have a feeling of gratitude. That's the feeling that I have. In general, gratitude for the enrichment that this project gives to us all, including ourselves. The enrichment to our students, to the people who from Romania, who are already our friends, to the experiences that we continue acquiring from this developing every time new projects. It's a lot of, and for the fact that understanding that there's nothing, not even a worldwide pandemic, that will stop us from working with performing arts. That's the words I would like to close with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lewis, for this strong encouragement, and we certainly share this feeling of gratitude to you and to all the friends and partners that participated in Genius Loci. So now, to go to the end of this beautiful meeting, I would like to give the floor for some final greetings to Fabio Tolledi. Please, Fabio.
Yes, also I'll give the floor to Tobias for the final words. But also I want to thank you to everyone, and I think that we have found also a way to work together more and more, and also it's the most important result of the project, because we are opening another part. Also what Alberto said about the work on the archive for repertoire of the heritage in performing arts, also Kostas about popular theater, and we have opened an opportunity, and also this is a big result, because we have not finished our big work. We have finished a phase, and also I have to write what I have said, because you know that there is a I think that Tobias can feel very well. You know, I write poem, and also there is and also I write the play generally for theater, in connection with the experience, with the memories of the actresses and actors and so on, working with the musicians together. But when I write for the poem or for the theater, is a very different work when I have to speak with someone. And also I like always to speak directly about my feeling without write something. There are a lot of sketches, but also I will develop, and also I want to share with you at first this dimension of archive, of the performing arts, the connection between tangible and intangible is something very important. Also, we haven't spoken about the site-specific things, because it wasn't not possible to do this part of the work. That is another part very important. But also we have to living poetically all the plays, like Heidegger said, poetically live the plays are something connected with the poems always. And also it's the opportunity to transform this place in connection with the mood of the people, of the women and men, and also animals and plants and so on. And also was limited this project for the condition, but in the same way, we have faced some other ways to overcome. And I think that we have started the work in this way. Also for this, I want to thank you one more time, but also I think that we have to restart to have residencies as soon as possible, not only inside the framework of this project, as soon as possible to have the residencies, to have workshops, and to share this. It's very important. Also, we have to give continuity. Also, we can find a way, but we have to do, because we have started a new path, and we have to continue to walk. Also, another aspect is connected with the walking and the performing arts. I think that we have to speak about, there is an Italian word that is viandante, that the person that walk on the road and meet something is viandante. It's a very beautiful word. And I think that we have to walk together for many, many other times. Also, please, Tobias, if you want to say last words, then Roberta with the final greetings.
Take off the microphone. Thank you very much. It was very interesting what I heard this afternoon. Thank you very much. And I think one thing that I picked up is when you talk about archives, I know that the Music Council from that partner organization of ITI, they are doing a huge archive now of traditional music, about the traditions of music, and it's a little bit simpler than performing arts. And I think this initiative we have to do as well. And I want to make one last note about what ITI is doing. ITI initiated about almost 2 years ago a traditional performing arts forum. And out of this, especially from the initiatives that were taken in Asia, where the Western theater is now pushing out the traditional art forms, the roots of in Bangladesh, in Japan, everywhere, everything, the Shakespearean theater becomes more and more important than the theater they do on the street, the theater they do with their roots. So we are intending to create publications, individual publication about selected art forms like Chatra, like Gagaku. This is a ritual dance form. And we intend to write it for the students and for the artists. And it should be individual for volumes in English and probably in Chinese, because we have somebody who would like to publish them. And it should give the people a colored picture what the traditions are on this planet. And I think this is a very important undertaking, because you ask me what is flamenco, I can say, oh, it's Monita de la Plata or somebody, or some people I know, and the music I know, or what is the polyphonic singing. I have some ideas, and we met with people who are specialists in this, and they are very interesting to create publications that are scientifically, historically correct, but are written in a language that people can understand, so that people have access to our roots on this planet. And Shakespeare is just one. The Shakespearean theater, it's not the majority, and we really should empower all the traditional art forms that exist, the ethnical forms, the roots that are making ancient Greek theater alive, and whatever is happening all over the world. So this is what's happening in ITI. We came to this still stand because I left in January China last year, and that was the last meeting we had in China with these specialists from different art forms from all over the world. So this is what ITI is doing, and I think it's part of our heritage, it's a part of our richness, it's part of our inspiration, and it's part of our mindset, and it should be. Thanks again for sharing your visions, your ideas, your work that you are doing, and stay in good health, and see you soon live, not over the screen.
Thank you so much, Tobias. We also wish to see very soon everyone live and not on screen. And thank you for highlighting the universal value of diversity that cultural heritage brings, and that we should also pass on to younger generations. I think also in all the speeches that you have done, it's very important. It came to light this connection between cultural heritage and the quality of life. This is arts and culture are active forces that are connected to the way we live our lives. And I hope Genius Loci could be an inspiring path, not only for the artists, young creators, professionals that were directly involved, but also for the people that could follow the activities, for the people who love art. And the next and fortunately last activity of Genius Loci will be on Thursday, 6 May, with the last event of Chi è di Scena. ITI meets this time artists from United Kingdom. So I would really like to thank all of you for this wonderful meeting. Tobias Biancone, Alberto Garcia Castano, Luis Gerrena, Carlos Roldan, Alina Ioana Vasiliu, Kostas Kapodistrias, Giovanna Kapodistrias, and Gloria Garcia Rambari, that was not with us but stayed with us in spirit, and of course Fabio Tolledi. My thanks also to Simonetta, that is behind the screen, Simonetta Rotundo of Astràgali, to Ivano Gorgoni and all the team of Astràgali, Marina, Pierluigi, Matteo, Samuele, and I forget, Cosimo, that always supported us in all these long months. Thank you so much again for all the great work that you continue to do for keeping performing arts alive and beautiful for the communities. See you soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Yasu Costa.
Yasu Fabiolino.